Welcome to Hameen Loyal. This is Eric Grissom.
And I'm Dan Johnson. Eric and I will be rewatching the iconic Twin Peaks from the pilot through the return and everything in between.
If this is your first time watching, or if you're a longtime fan, you can watch along with us as we dive deep into the strange and wonderful world of Twin Peaks.
We live inside a dream.
Today is going to be a very special episode of Meanwhile. It's going to be a lot of very special episodes of Meanwhile. I'm getting the opportunities and the chance to talk to really interesting people doing really interesting work. One thing that I really wanted to do was speak to a lot of artists and filmmakers about kind of what David Lynch means to them and their work and the points that those two intersect. And today, to start it off, is a great interview. I really enjoyed this conversation with a filmmaker, Vera Drew. I had been a fan of her work before, so it was great to get to talk to her. And we're going to talk about The People's Joker. Wonderful, beautiful movie, but one that I think in time will be seen like Eraserhead. A very personal story that you're releasing out of the gate, but what's going to lay beyond is going to go in many different wonderful directions. But yeah, so let's get to it. Let's see how it goes.
I'm so sorry my cat is just cleaning her genitals over my shoulder.
Cat genitals, you'd be surprised at what that will do to the traffic. You know, you throw a couple of cat genitals in a thing. No, it's fine. And I also apologize ahead of the time. There is a cat outside that my dogs will go absolutely nuts over. So if you hear a cacophony of chaos, so the cats are fine as long as you're okay with the dogs.
I'm fine with, it's cats and dogs, the two genders.
Today on Meanwhile, I am happy to welcome filmmaker, editor, actress, and hot topic enthusiast, Vera Drew. Now, Vera, you have worked on some of the best comedy of my lifetime, including my second favorite created world, which is the On Cinema universe.
Oh, yes.
You also wrote, directed, edited, and starred in The People's Joker, which won a Gotham Award.
And the 2024 Gotham for Breakthrough Director goes to Vera Drew, The People's Joker.
Although I guess legally they probably, had to. This is a huge honor and pleasure, so welcome to Meanwhile.
Thank you for having me, and that was a great intro. Wow, I'm really prolific and iconic. That's my takeaway.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so first off, to explain the type of comedy that you've been creating for many years. At one point when I was trying to book you for this interview, I went to your Blue Sky page, which had the People's Joker website, and it went to a website just full of AI generated Joker imagery that was I don't know what malware was installed, but I did not know if it was part of the joke. And I was like, okay, this totally checks out. Or if it was your site had got temporarily hacked.
It did indeed get temporarily hacked. But that's the benefit of that film. I mean, it was a giant mega chaos ritual, and I'm not in control of anything around it anymore. It's an ultimate surrender that I've given to the universe when it comes to stuff like that.
It's back. It's back. The website is back, though. That's the good news, is you can actually get there. But so to start off, let's go back in time a little bit. I'm curious to know where you grew up.
I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago in a town called Mokina. Um, it's like one of those Midwestern towns where a lot of people live, but like nobody, at least when I was growing up, nobody really worked there. Everybody kind of either worked in the city or like in Joliet or like kind of the surrounding areas. I don't know. I've always really thought of it as like this kind of prototypical, almost kind of David Lynchian town.
At the sound of the falling tree, it's 9:30.
You could also just like walk around there and really feel the darkness that like oozes underneath everything. I definitely think that's why his work has always resonated with me on that level, just because that's very much the Midwest to me, is that sort of blue velvet, that whole blue velvet thing.
Sure. So it's like a suburbs, you're saying, of Chicago. Was it an artistic style community, or was it just one devoid of all of that, where you're just smoking cigarettes behind a Krauser's waiting to get out?
That, yeah, smoking cigarettes at Denny's or
Yes.
behind a Jewel Osco. The only reason art was ever important to me growing up is because my mother is an artist. She paints still life, and she's about to retire, but she taught art for like 40 years. Hopefully she wouldn't mind me adding the number to it. But growing up was very really put an emphasis on not only appreciating art but creating art, and I'm really thankful for it, because I was kind of surrounded by just a lot of broed out, like, working class energy. Not that there's anything wrong with the working class, but I think a kind of like Midwestern toxic idea of like what the point of life is, meaning like it should be you get a family, you get a job that you don't really like and that you can support that family with, and that's like what's important.
Yeah. Your mom being an artist and like seeing someone do that, and like what a big step that is for you, or I imagine that would be for you. Like it makes it real, it makes it viable as an option
Completely.
for life.
Completely, and I think it lowered the stakes of what an artist's supposed to be, right? Because like she went to work every day, and like I think really loved teaching. I was just home for her like retirement, and like I know she's gonna really miss teaching, but like and that was watching her go and do that every day, but then also coming home and from school and seeing her just working on her own material and having that hustle, like that self-motivated thing. And, it was just very much a part of my childhood. And she would stay up all night painting. And I also really got to watch her evolve as an artist over the course of my life. Cause like when I was a kid, it was just like still lives, and she would do murals in people's houses and stuff, like commissioned stuff. But then it was like right around, I guess once I got into film school, her whole thing kind of changed. She stuck with still lifes, but like also really got into sculpting and kind of like mixed media stuff. And watching somebody like, because I mean, at that point she was like in her 40s, like watching somebody still be able to like explore and reinvent like the means of how they're making art throughout the course of their life is like, it's just an invaluable thing that I was able to be around. And like that. This is so cool, by the way. I never get to talk about this. That was nobody ever wants to talk about my mom making art. But it was that coincided, I think, with me leaving the house. So like her watching her kids grow up and her father dying. So like I got to see these like kind of healthy instances of like you can use art to process and shape around things. And like I said too, it's just like it demystified it. Like art wasn't something to me that like only existed in museums or only existed for people with the means to be a famous artist. Like it was just pure enjoyment, like a compulsion, like an instinct.
Yeah, I hope that's the case for myself trying to do that stuff, because it's harder and harder to do it. I write comics and stuff like that, but I enjoy that my children can see me in the failing, but continuing to do it, because I think there's some value in seeing the tenacity or the persistence of making art. And I think it's, to your point, like it's to do the thing. Like that it doesn't have to end, that you can keep doing this as it gets harder and harder. You mentioned film school. So like, was film for you going to be it from the beginning, or did you entertain art like your mother, or traditional art, I should say?
Like as far back as I can remember, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I remember being really, really young and telling my parents, you know, they got me like a movie. Like I had a camera, you know, by the time I was like 6. Back then, for any of the young people listening, was like kind of a crazy thing to give a kid. Like you didn't give a kid, like we didn't have cameras on our phones or on our computers or anything. And you know, like I didn't have editing software at that point. I don't think I had editing software until I was like 13. So I was just doing like live editing and
2 VCRs back to back and just trying to do, like, I'm much older than you, I think, but not only was it like hard to find video cameras, they were very expensive.
Yeah.
And so I was not gifted a video camera, but I stole my dad's immediately, and that was all that I used all the time. But yeah, I feel like that's lost. Like you put these phones, I sound like an old person, but
it's okay.
Everybody has access to the phones, and because the access is so easy, you kind of don't want to use it because you have so many other things. But when you actually had access to a camera, even among like friends and stuff, like we have this thing, let's do something stupid. And when everyone has a camera, like who cares that you have a camera? But I think that goes a long way.
Totally. Yeah, it created a hangout a lot of times. I mean, and I remember there was one summer where my cousin Cody was over all the time because he was like going through some like family stuff, and like he was just at our house all the time. And that summer, my cousin and my sister and I made like 6 short films. Like it was insane, and like spy movies, and like I still have it all. I don't really go back and watch it because I get so mortified, because you can really hear I was way more of a micromanaging auteur when I was, you know, like 13 than I am now. It was, you know, so I think it's like, it's a space where you get to hang out. And for me, it was also a space where I could really torture my sister and have an excuse for bossing her around.
Yeah, I have a very similar experience. Like I tortured my sister to death making Wolfman 1 through 3, which she still talks about, because I took it, I guess, way too seriously. But you needed the realism. But there's something wonderful about like when you do have a camera and you're young and you figure out ways to do a movie for every school project. It's a very exciting time.
Totally. Yeah, that was I wish I had figured out that hack sooner, cuz like it didn't crack for me until like I think like 8th grade. I remember I had like a biology project or something, and I wish I could remember the teacher, cuz like I know she gave us some sort of parameters that we could do something creative with it, and I just made like I basically made like an It's a Wonderful Life type movie where like I was like, I wish biology didn't exist, and then, you know, like my character in the movie paid for it. And like it was literally the moment maybe anybody in my school saw me as a valuable human entity, because it blew people's minds that I could add, you know, like I had a I had needle drops in it. Like I remember like the opening titles were I Believe in a Thing Called Love by The Darkness, and people were like, "Oh, that's so crazy. Like, how did you do that?" And like it was maybe the first time I realized like, "Oh, this could get me some friends and some and maybe a girlfriend someday." And like it really I don't know. I'm grateful that I had that opportunity, and then like was able to do that a few more times over the course of my school. But like it's weird because like, I never want to like sound like old people sounded when I was young, but like I don't think the generation of like DIY filmmakers that are like coming up now, like I don't think they really fully recognize like how truly insane it was to be around in the advent of like digital cinema. Like it's there was just no there was no there was just no template for like what was happening, and it literally did seem like magic.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first time seeing like an effects generator that like one of my sister's friends had that just put the bars on the top and bottom of the screen. That's all of it did. Or it would do like those dumb effects. But that was just revolutionary. And it was like, oh, I can make these videos that I'm making look like they're widescreen. Oh, I've elevated myself. But I want to jump on something that you said, because that moment of you like doing something creatively and then realizing this is how I can survive with socially. Like, at least maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I had a similar experience too. And it's like you figure out whether you're making someone laugh or you're doing something like you got the skill, and it's like you spend your whole life just surviving and trying to sort of connect with people. And then you find the thing. And then for me, it was like you just got to keep chasing that thing.
No, you didn't read too much into it at all. I mean, that's 100% what it was and what it still is. I mean like my best friends are filmmakers and are like, like I just this past weekend, my friend Louise Ward was in town. She's a filmmaker who's making a series of films right now called Castration Movie.
If men knew and believed the truth about women, there would be a regular sex war now, as opposed to the ideological one that we have. And women would get massacred. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm reading the incel board on 4chan.
Why are you on the incel board on 4chan?
Because it's really funny. It's insane.
It's not super funny, but...
Fin doms are fucking evil.
That is about as like DIY punk trans cinema as you can get, and that's saying something, like considering like the all of the stuff that's happening right now with trans cinema. But she was in town this weekend, and we just hung out, and whenever she's in town, we usually end up shooting something together for that project she's doing.
Who is it? And I'm telling you that you're being ableist because I have a learning disability and it takes me a very long time to read. Hey, how are you doing?
And it's really it's cool. Like it's not only like a tool that I still have, and like this source of joy that I get to have in social life and all that stuff. It's this nice bridge to that child and the person I was when I really did need this stuff to survive. And like performance was that for me too. Like I was acting at a very young age. 'Cause again, I mean, it was just during a time where I think like the pathway to becoming a filmmaker seemed completely impenetrable. So doing community theater and doing like improv and all of that, was a lot more tangible for me. And, like I was 45 minutes away from Chicago where Second City was. So, was going up to the city and doing improv pretty much every weekend from the time I was like 14 till about like 23. I was like essentially about as professional of an improviser as you could be.
Is that through UCB? Was it UCB that you were doing, or does that come later? I assumed, like, after watching The People's Joker, that you've got some history there.
Oh yeah, I've got some UCB trauma. No, UCB is not, to my knowledge, they're still not. They haven't colonized Chicago yet. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I remember New York. Like I would go like with my friends and I when it first opened in New York City, but I didn't know if they had come from Chicago or if they had always originated in New York.
Well, they originated in New York. The thing that's kind of, I mean, both cool and spooky and toxic about improv is like it really all, it's such a new, the formal, like what we know as like improv comedy is a very new art form. Like it was born out of actually like therapy, like child psychology and child therapy. I believe the psychologist that I'm thinking of was named Viola Spolin, who was in Chicago and was working with children. Somehow, this guy named Del Close co-opted that into theater and comedy.
Nothing that we say to each other is innocent of emotional manipulation. Everything that we do on stage is to affect each other in some way. And if we notice very carefully how those swine we're working with are trying to get to us and get at us, sometimes I suggest that we perform on stage as though we're a whole bunch of raving paranoids.
And Del Close was, I think he died like in the 90s or something. So he was like the real like guru that created improv, and that all really started in theater called Second City, which was based in Chicago and in Toronto. Second City spider-webbed into all these other permutations of like comedy theaters and disciplines and stuff. One of them being IO, formerly known as Improv Olympic. And that theater was started by a woman named Sharna Halpern, who was one of Del Close's contemporaries and actually one of my first improv teachers. And she just one of the all-time batshit ladies I've ever met in my life. And I learned a lot. The first day I met her, I auditioned for a team. It was a teen improv group at Improv Olympic that was a diversity group. And I remember feeling so like why am I in the running for this? Like, I'm a white kid from the suburbs. Like nothing. I couldn't understand why I was there. And after my second audition, she came up to me and she said, "You're so talented. You're brilliant. You're like a young Andy Dick."
And let's see what we have here. This is a picture of Andy Dick from one of his shows. Andy's one of my alumni.
And then it all clicked for me, like, oh, she thinks I'm gay.
Right.
Like, I'm the gay token in this like diversity cast. And it was crazy because it was like, at that point, I was a child. I children can realize they were gay, but I grew up in the 90s. I had no idea that was, it was noticed. Somebody else noticed it before I did, and it happened to be one of the creators of modern improv comedy that noticed it.
And maybe the first time anyone's like pointed at Andy Dick as the future that awaits you. That's
double-edged
compliment.
No, it was prophetic for a billion reasons. Maybe my history with drug abuse too being like one of them, where it's just like getting a spell cast on you.
Right.
But yeah, and then UCB, I think specifically started off of a lot of like people from IO, one of them being like Amy Poehler and Matt Besser and all those folks, like, and now today it's just like it's just a big factory that people dump a bunch of money into, and
it seems very expensive. But whatever, if you get something out of it, it's great. I have very limited experience with it. They would have like open, like Saturdays or something, they had like open night. Anybody could get up. And we would show up, and it was like if you didn't pay the money for the classes, it was kind of frowned on if you went up too much. Plus, I was like completely heavily medicated at the time and going through my own stuff. So they're probably better off leaving me in my seat. But so you want to do film, right? So were you already a Lynch fan? Like you said it's the 90s. So this is like Lost Highway is probably coming out. Was that your first Lynch film?
No, I didn't come to Lynch until, I guess, like it would have been early 2000s. Because the first David Lynch thing I ever watched was Mullholland Drive, and it was. And I'm sorry if this is TMI, but it's my Lynch origin story.
You have to share it.
I found the sex scene online on a precarious website, and I was like, what's this from? Because it was so jarring to me as a sex scene, because like it was two women, which wasn't unheard of on the internet, but it felt so loving and beautiful, and it really was like, oh, I need to see what the rest of this movie is. And I watched it very young. I was like 12 or 13, and it had such a profound effect on me because it was such a beautiful and joyful movie until it's not. And I remember that part, when, after they're at Club Silencio, she like comes out of that like one reality that we're spending most of the movie in, and it's just a different movie. And it was like getting hit by a truck or something, like watching that movie. I think because like the portrayal of Hollywood and show business and love and queerness and dreams and all of these things up until that moment when all that reality shatters, it's childlike. It's like a Disney movie or something. It's got a real it was where I was at. It was the thing that I was yearning for. And when that illusion shatters and you see what the real world's like, or whatever this other like version of reality is, that illusion really shatters. And I remember watching it and being really upset, but I loved it. And that was the first time I had ever watched a movie that really affected me in this like emotional way, where I was confused too, like I didn't quite understand what had happened in the film. But that didn't bother me either, because I understood it on an emotional level.
100%. Like it's that intuitive feeling that you're connecting with, that you can't line up all of the dots yet. And maybe you spend the rest of your life trying to connect those things, but you feel it in a deep and moving way. And those kind of things that you talk about, like she's looking all around in the wonderful, bright world of Los Angeles.
Oh, I can't believe it.
And then the darkness, like,
you've come back.
You see that again and again in his work, especially like in The Return. I don't know where you land on Twin Peaks: The Return.
Oh, yeah. My favorite piece of art ever made is The Return, yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. Like, I think of Janie E. as a tulpa, and I think of Diane, the Diane tulpa, as like two halves of the same coin. And it's presenting this fantasy world of living in this beautiful house, and you have this wonderful husband, and you have all this new car. You got a new car and a new gym set.
And then the car. Oh, Dougie. I love you so much.
And then you have Diane drinking herself into oblivion.
Cheers to the FBI.
From all the real horror of the world, and they're both the same person, at least for the way I look at that.
Yeah, no, I see that as the same thing. It's like I remember when The Return, because I watched it when it was airing, and I remember, and I was a lot more enmeshed with the online Twin Peaks community at that point. It was hard not to be, I think, just because like it was so, that was like the heyday.
It was the golden era of social media, I think. Like how exciting it was when they announced it and they both tweeted at the same time, and like everything was going to be fine. It wasn't fine, but
it really, it was really, this is like that Mullholland Drive thing where,
it's 100% that Mullholland Drive thing. It was like 2016 into 2000. They killed my dad in 2017 as well. So it's just like, Jesus.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, but go on what you were saying. I mean to cut you off.
Audrey. So like Audrey, I remember the fan reaction to Audrey was insane. Like, I mean, like, and even my own private reaction, like, I mean, I remember watching it with my friends and my partner at the time, and we were like, what the hell are they doing with our, like, literal favorite character in the movie? They've just turned her into this, like, shrill, like, evil, like, and she's miserable. It's clear. I don't know what this is, and I don't know what this reality is, and then when that reality pops and she's like in a hospital or wherever she is, it was that same thing of just like, oh my God, like you just took me on this like dark, crazy, fucked up ride. And now when I watch The Return, because I rewatch it, I'm forcing myself to take a break. Because I was on this, like, I'd watch it all in its entirety, like I'd watch all of Twin Peaks in its entirety like about once a year, which is what I needed for, about 15 years. But I need to take a break. I got to watch other things, and I want to come back to it after I've had a little bit more life experience. But this last time when I was watching it, the Diane story and the Janie E story feels like so wrapped up in Audrey stuff too. This and Annie, this idea that like Cooper is supposed to be saving somebody. He's supposed to be saving somebody, but we're watching him save Diane, who's somebody we've never met. It's somebody that we've only ever heard about, who I'm still not even entirely convinced is real and ever was real. And it feels like the absence of Audrey in that narrative ties her to both of those things, where it's like Cooper was supposed to, it was written originally that like he was going to fall in love with her and like they were going to be together, but then it didn't happen for various reasons. That I don't want to say because I don't want Laura Flynn Boyle to get mad at me.
Well, like we can talk about. Do you want to talk about that? Because I personally, we're talking, and I've talked about it in the podcast. So at one point they were going to have Cooper and Audrey, and they were going to have a 3-episode arc. It actually came up. I just talked to Mark Frost, and he would not talk about it, but he kind of alluded to it. I think as a kid, so I watched Twin Peaks when I was 15, but I was way into it. Like I was like, there's so much chemistry. I love this thing. And then I heard all the stories. Laura Flynn Boyle wanted more, she was telling Kyle, like, you better not do it. And like all of this stuff happened, and she gets blamed a lot for it. But I think that's a bit unfair. It's like, Kyle's an adult. I think he's in charge of this thing. But I think it's the right thing. Like if it had gone and that had happened, I feel Twin Peaks would be less than. The character of Cooper would be less than. There would always be this thing of like this 30-year-old or 35-year-old guy dating a high school girl. And what. So I'm happy that it happened, even though if you talked to me in 1992 or whatever, I would have said it differently. But what's your take? Because it sounded like, would you have preferred that story to happen? Because there's no getting around how much chemistry the two of them had at the time.
It's so funny because it's like, I guess I I think it depends on what year is this? Because it's like I think the first time I watched, which was in that I didn't come to Twin Peaks until college, and that was like the DVD, the gold box era.
Yeah.
I was absolutely pissed, and then I was really pissed because Cooper ends up in an age gap relationship anyway,
right,
with somebody who is like fresh out of a mental hospital.
Right,
and like, it's like, it was so like, just from the optics standpoint, I was like, well, this isn't better. But like, I think it's the thing that I love about that show now, and I'm speaking in the year 2026 of looking at it, in its entirety. It's like, what I want is irrelevant, because what is so much better and so much richer than what I want.
What I want and what I need are two different things, Audrey.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, it adds so much depth to his character. I think it adds so much depth to the return that you can have this like reading of it, that like, why are we watching 16 episodes where he's not going and saving Audrey? Like,
right.
Why the fuck? Like, Audrey is clearly the new Laura here. Like, we gotta go get Audrey. She's something, like, she just went through the worst thing a woman could go through. She gave birth to the Antichrist, as far as I'm concerned, and we need to go save Audrey. It's like, that is so much more that's so much more like rich and beautiful. And I mean, I think it's the same thing with and I think Lynch would even maybe have said this, and I think he has to some degree in his own like cryptic ways, where it's like his mistakes, or like the things that they didn't plan for in Twin Peaks and in any of his work. I mean, like, sometimes that's like the best stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I'm staring at the Red Room right now. Like, that didn't come to him until, and I'm sure you've talked about that, like, that it didn't come to him until like late into filming the pilot. Or
yeah, that's a perfect story, because it's like any other person, you're told like, okay, ABC's like, we're gonna do the pilot, but you got to shoot this dumb ending so that we could sell it overseas. Like, anyone else would be like, ugh, why do I got to do that? But like, Lynch is smoking a cigarette, touching a hot car, and he's like, all right, we're doing red curtains. And that becomes like the most iconic thing that everybody thinks of. And like,
totally,
anytime there was, like, to your point, like the lights flickering, now that you leave it in, like the ability to edit and to know what thing you should follow and what thing you should fix is like a skill that so few people have, but he has it in spades. It's beautiful.
No, I think the reason Lynch is my favorite artist, I mean, like, he's obviously my favorite filmmaker, but it goes beyond that. He's just my favorite artist that ever lived, is his ability to surrender. Because I think surrender is an essential part of the artistic process. I think the word auteur is thrown around so much with like filmmakers like him, which implies like control and like fixating and getting every single bit of footage and thing that's in your head. And he didn't do that. He was following his intuition, and your intuition leads you down pathways that you don't expect. There are things that like you can't account for, and that, I mean, like, Mullholland Drive is another perfect example, where it's like he was making a TV show, and then it didn't get picked up, so then it became like literally one of his best films. And you know, like, that's just him following his intuition and probably hitting a lot of points in the process that feel like massive failures, and, you know, sitting and meditating and just like finding his pathway forward. He never focused on the obstacles. He always focused on the spaces in between the obstacles and what was reality presenting to him that was what was the art telling him that it was supposed to be?
Yeah.
And that is just so like I like I'm gonna that is my that's all I want to be as a filmmaker and as like a human being having a spiritual experience. I can't micromanage reality. I have to surrender to what is, and I don't know. I think that's why, you know, he's so important to me, and in his whole body of work is just it's like emblematic of this of a fully integrated person, you know, and a deep spiritual giant who was like making art that, and I understand why he's not everybody's cup of tea. Like, I think you really have to love Lynch to love his art. Like, because it's just a pure reflection of his inner world.
You talk about like the auteur theory or whatever. Like, he's clearly got his hands in everything. Like, literally his hands in everything.
Plaster of Paris bullshit.
And for you, you're doing almost everything. Like, your first film that I could find, which was 2009's She'll Be All Right short.
Oh, God.
Which, by the way, if you're out there and you're looking it up on YouTube, there's another short. It's called She'll Be, and turns out she's not all right. But no spoilers on that one. But you're doing all that. Like, you're in that one, I think you're co-directing and co-writing, but you're editing it, you're starring in it. People's Joker, you're doing everything as well.
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance knowing like what you want? Like, you clearly have a vision of what this thing's supposed to be and supposed to look like. And how do you work with like other collaborators without micromanaging, like you're saying that you're picking up on these old videos that you've been doing since you were a kid, and let them sort of be free to dream and have their own things, but keep it like close to that original idea? Like, that part seems so tough to... I struggle with that myself, like if I'm ever working on something.
It is well, I think the reason She'll Be All Right is not anywhere to be found. I don't even know if I still have a copy of it. Is because that was a perfect example of not doing that. Like, we kind of failed at making what we were making. It was a great exercise because I had never made anything before that. Like, I had made like maybe one short or two in film school, but like the need and compulsion to be a multi-hyphenate, I think, comes from Lynch. I think it also comes from Kevin Smith. I think it also comes from just having some pretty groovy ideas that are, you know, I mean, in the instance of the People's Joker, one question I used to get asked a lot was, did I ever think about casting somebody else in the lead role? And if so, who would it be, or whatever? And the answer is like, that literally never crossed my mind. Like, it was never an option, but I was going to play that character because it was me. It was me. The only difference between that character and me at the points of my life that I was processing when I made The People's Joker was I haven't killed Batman. Like, that's the only difference between us. So like, there was a shorthand there. That was an area where like I could exhibit a level of control that that was maybe the only thing I could control is her performance. And to the end of like the collaboration of it all, that's something I learned in real time on The People's Joker. I think, you know, I had put together this community of artists who, most of whom were not filmmakers or people that had any aspirations of film. They were like artists, like fine arts and puppeteers and musicians and stuff. And the second that the team sort of came together before what my philosophical approach for the whole film was going to be, like, came together. Because I just quickly realized, like, on an emotional level, like, I have this like army of people that want to help me tell a story, that are responding to something about this script that I've written and this pitch that I've come up with. I want to see what's in their head. And if I don't, I'm like the most evil person in the world, because a lot of these people are doing it for free or for very little money. So it's like, again, I'm a very spiritual person, especially when it comes to like how I make stuff, and it was just on a soul level, it felt right. And then in terms of like the practical application of executing that, I had to develop my ability to communicate a lot better. Like I was literally, right before we started recording this, I was just talking to a filmmaker who's working on something, and he asked me that question of like, how do you do that? Like, how do you like let go? And the answer is you just have to let go. And before you let go in that collaboration, you have a platform where you can say everything that's in your head. You could literally draw a picture, and I did. I would draw pictures. I would find images on the internet and be like, this is kind of what it looks like in my head. And then I'd be like, but do whatever you want with all of that. And they'd start from that baseline. And what I would get was often so different than what was in my head.
Yeah.
It was so different than what was in my head. But I think because I had also created this template for a movie that was like, this is going to be a mixed media thing. Every single animation style, every single texture that could be in a piece of digital cinema will be in this movie. Whatever I got back was always usable and always perfect and always exactly what it needed to be. I mean, again, it was that kind of Lynch thing of like the art itself was telling me what it wanted to be, and it was telling me what it wanted to be via these like communications with my collaborators. It was a really valuable experience, and I can't stress it enough for young directors or people that are like about to enter a threshold of like making something and making something with like a big team of people. Like the way to be an auteur is to be a good collaborator, an excellent communicator, and being willing to kill your darlings.
Sure.
And accept an idea that's better than the one you had.
It reminds me, like, I remember hearing Dwayne Dunham talk about, I don't remember if it was for Blue Velvet or one of the things that he worked on with Lynch. He didn't get any notes on how to cut the thing. And he was like, you sure you don't, do you have any? And he said, no, because if I tell you what I want to see, it's going to be as if I did it. Like, I want to see what you're going to do with this. And then having the ability to completely objectively look at it and say, yes, this feeds it. And if you have to make tweaks or changes because it veers off from where the idea needs to be, you can do that. But it's like trusting in your collaborators that it's all going to kind of work out. Welcome to the halfway point of the Meanwhile podcast. Of course, you knew this was coming. I know you guys are out there. You got your stopwatches set to try to find out when I'm going to drop in and thank the greatest people in the world. Of course, I'm talking about our Black Lodge supporters, Chuck Suffel and Gregory Flanagan and Dawn Adamo and Banjo Track and Eric Knopp, Charlie Tapper, Jake Jagello, Matthew Fuller, David Melito, Daryl Dyson, Dana Gould, Jeff, Henrik E., of course, I'm talking about Concluding Remarks and Brian Johnson and Meerkats and Raga Raven and Evan Fitz and Hazel Haywood. Of course, there's Ivan, William Schaefer. You can't have a party without Jordan Carver or Matt W., Nick Webb, Kalen Best Lawrence, He Who Is Clem Fandango, a.k.a. Luke P., Art Hill, Eva, Ben Chisholm, Neil McKenzie, David Titterington, Ethan Berry, May Surkoff, Wordy Ginters, Chris H., Patrick Weiss, Skeksis, and Julian Zoller. So thank you, every one of you, for taking the time to support our show and for making it possible to do interviews like this with Vera Drew. So let's get back to that interview and see how it goes. I was going to say, I want to talk about The People's Joker because it's an impossible film. And for listeners that may not know about it, it's listed as an aspiring comedian moves to Gotham City and grapples with her gender while forming an anti-comedy troupe and combating a fascist Cape Crusader, which is all true, but it's so much more than that. Like, you placed what is such like a personal and powerful story inside a wrapper of a corporate property. That's like a bomb. Like, you created like a bomb.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
And like the high possibility that it would be lost forever, buried by lawyers and everything else. Like, I can't put myself in your head to put something that you obviously care so much about and such a beautiful piece of art in a shell that could have gone some other way and then no one would ever have seen it. And I kind of remember there being starts and stops, because I mentioned in the beginning on cinema, I became aware of your work from like one of the Q&As from season 13 or it was season 14? I don't remember which season.
13. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and then I watched your Hot Topic videos. And then I remember following like you on Twitter, and the idea of this came up, and it was like, is this a real thing? Is this actually happening? So I was sort of watching it go along. And was it like TIFF, where it was like the night before it was going to premiere, it got pulled? Like, how were you surviving it at that time?
Barely. I mean, barely. I was so naive. I honestly, and I don't mean that in a way of demeaning myself. I look up to her. I chase that naivety and the person that made that movie, because like, it was just the idea I had. The idea I had was like, I'm going to make the world's first impressionist superhero movie, and I'm going to do it to the point of almost killing myself, like, and going into financial ruin. And I think what it was that perfect era of, because it started as a pandemic project, like early pandemic. The world seemed like it was ending, and I had never made a movie. I had wanted to make a feature my entire life, and that was the idea that clicked. It was the idea that a bunch of people wanted to help me execute. I did everything I could to, I worked with a lawyer while I was writing it to find the bounds of legal of parody law and fair use and all that stuff, and did everything I could to protect myself. But I think we flew a little too close to the sun, and the night before our TIFF premiere, Warner Brothers sent me an angry letter, and we ended up screening at TIFF because they really had come to the table way too late in the game to actually like really hurt the festival run of the movie. They were really just trying to intimidate me, and thankfully, like, the festival itself, they wanted to still screen, and so many festivals wanted to screen it still. But yeah, I mean, it's so weird because it was the best, that 24-hour period, or like 48-hour period, really was the best 2 days of my life, and also like the worst, most dark, depressing, chain-smoking, whiskey, pills, like crazy bitch I ever was. Like, I was so... I remember sitting in a courtyard at our Airbnb in Toronto with my co-writer Brie LaRose, and we were just sitting there for 2 hours just like crying, just chain smoking and crying and being like, these fucking corporations, what have we done? But then also getting to this point where it's like, well, what have we done? Look at what we did. Look at what we did.
Right.
We made a parody movie. in heavy quotes.
Well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's not a fan film. Like, it's a film that uses the Joker as a metaphor for something far more important. Like, it's not just you're using the characters.
There isn't one moment where I like realized I was transgender. I mean, do cis people have one specific moment where they realized they were cis? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you do. I'm not going to ask you because it's none of my business. It's none of your business. Anyway, when I figured out I was trans. But when I look back on my life, it's this like blurry, cracked mosaic of all these tiny but very important gender revelations. But who could have predicted that the most important of which would happen when my mom took me to see a movie about everybody's favorite orphan?
For whatever reason, like whatever Warner Brothers was doing, they came out looking good because I actually feel much more positive about Warner Brothers. You think about like the 70s and Disney and that Air Pirates comic that they just like,
yeah,
for whatever reason, like you can watch it. You can go on Tubi or you can buy the Blu-ray or, it's available. So they ended up winning. But it's important for people that may not be familiar with it. It is a beautiful work of art. And the ending, Fire Walk With Me is one of my favorite films. It is my favorite film. And like I don't want to spoil your movie, but like it's like the ending of your movie and like it reminds me so much of like the ending of Fire Walk With Me. And it's just this beautiful, wonderful thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure.
I mean, yeah, it's so funny because like I was so, I don't know if I would have made The People's Joker without Laura Palmer and without The Return, and I don't know. Laura that's the first time I saw myself in a movie was Fire Walk With Me. Like really, like it's like Mullholland Drive showed me my dreams and showed me how precarious and fucked up but like Laura and in the way and that whole arc and the redemption she has, because the first draft of The People's Joker was not a comedy. It was me processing just the darkest stuff I'd ever gone through in my life and kind of coming out on the other side in a way where that had a hopeful but optimistic ending. And to me, that's Fire Walk With Me in a nutshell. Like, I mean, she's going through the worst possible things a woman could go through. And she comes out on the other side like a spiritual giant, like I feel like magic and trauma, dreams, love and insanity, like all of these things are they're part of this like same energy field. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean it's what I get out of Laura's story and Fire Walk With Me, and it's definitely like what I was aspiring to with The People's Joker was just showing where all these things intersect and showing too like how you can come out on the other side of like having a pretty tragic life and being better than being a spiritual giant, I guess. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the way I look at Fire Walk With Me. And for me, Fire Walk With Me, the ending of Fire Walk With Me is the ending of Twin Peaks. That it is this cycle of life that we're living through and reliving and these traumas and the spinning fan and all of that. And she's able to break out of that cycle. And it's like this wonderful, perfect ending. But I wanted to talk a little bit about comedy and David Lynch's comedy. Because it's hard to like kind of figure out how to quantify. It's so stupid even just saying it out loud to quantify comedy or whatever. But for me, the things that I'm always like kind of drawn to is like this mix of darkness and the absurd, but there's always like a heart at its core, which are all the things that I find in Lynch's work. Aside from like On the Air and like What Would Jack Do? I've never described any of his films as comedies. but they're stuffed with all these wonderful moments that crack me up. Like Wild at Heart is extremely funny, like, but it's not a comedy.
Yeah.
But them are making a pornographic movie Texas style, and then Jack Nance with My Dog Barks Some is like right before the worst force in cinema history, and Bobby Peru comes out and destroys any chance of happiness. And it reminds me so much of the Terry Parks monologue at the end of season 12 of On Cinema that you directed, right?
Yeah.
For those that don't know the show, I couldn't explain the show. It's a movie review podcast world universe. But Terry is playing this character, Tony Newman, fresh out of rehab. Like, she's confronting her abuser. She delivers this amazing, moving monologue. And Greg Turkington is sitting there eating popcorn.
I'm saying this to you.
And I am so sorry, Tim, that my disease, my addiction, has created this illusion that I was someone you could love and someone who could love you.
Can you stop eating?
Tim.
And like those cutaways. So like to me, I don't know what that to me feels like the Lynch comedy that I love. Like there is this horrific, absurdist moment that is full of darkness. And then there's Greg Turkington eating the popcorn, and is something I love so much. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I wanted to know if you find David Lynch's work funny, and like how, because some of it can get kind of broad, but I enjoy all of it.
No, I mean, I love it when it gets broad too. Like he loves sound effects.
Yes.
Like he loves like a loud crunch or a squish. It's in the same way that like Tim and Eric do, and I do.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Terry Parks monologue is so it's so interesting because I've never thought of it in that context of like Lynchian, but it absolutely is. I mean, like, I think that's why I've always adored working with Tim and Eric and Greg and the people from that world, and Scott Aukerman too. I mean, like, all of these guys were very influenced by Lynch. I was and am immensely influenced by Lynch, and like, I think we all have our different little access points of like what we like about it, you know, like, and I don't know, like, especially like Tim. I remember one time we were on set for this show that I show ran and produced and co-directed, called Tim and Eric's Beef House.
Meet the Beef Boys. Tim's a musician with a dream.
I was just trying to make the Beef Boys proud.
You don't have to be the best at everything. His best friend Eric is a stay-at-home husband trying to save his marriage.
Maybe we should see someone.
I don't know, Eric. I'm really tired.
Detective Megan Dungerson is a woman of the law.
Eric?
Their roommate Ron Oster has fallen on hard times.
There's just no place for a hard-working fool no more.
Tennessee Luke is a spiritual guru with talents that some consider supernatural.
I saw all of this take place in my mind.
And him, that's just Ben-Hur.
I should have porn.
It's Beef House.
It might as well be lost media. It's so hard to find for some reason. But we were sitting there and we were shooting this shot of Tennessee Luke, and he was just like sitting on a couch, and we were just like slowly pushing in on him while he's like meditating or something, and Tim and I just like turned to each other, and at the same time we were like, it's like, we're just like ripping off David Lynch right now. Like, this is all we're doing. And it's like, it's not just the like, oh, it's so dark and weird, it's psychic. It's like, there's something about this that is that same kind of funny. And I think so much of it just comes down to the, I think it's like the broadness of the brush. I think it is that he wasn't afraid to be silly, especially when he was like working with Mark. Like, I feel like the two of them together are just their goofiest, like Dougie Jones should not work at all, and it absolutely does, because it's just pure, sincere, like broad like clowning comedy, like
the Fusco brothers as well. Like they're
oh god,
did you see On the Air? Have you seen On the Air? If you talk,
I have not. No,
Oh my God.
that's my only Lynch blind spot. Yeah.
You talk about sound effects. Like there are so many. So it's like, I don't know if you know how much you know about the show, but it's about doing like a live TV show in the 50s. So there's these ridiculous sound effects in the show they're making. And then there's the sound effects in the show of the people making the show. And then there's this third level of like a narrator that every once in a while comes out. But it reminds me of like, I talk about people think I'm crazy, but it reminds me of I Think You Should Leave. Like there's one segment where they show what the character's thinking, and it's like crazy dancing people all over the screen, and I like it. It's not for everybody, but I think you would probably dig it.
I think I will. Maybe that's during this period where I'm not like fully in a break from Lynch. Like I'm surrounded. My whole kitchen is David Lynch art, and my office used to be the Red Room. I used to literally work, sleep, and everything else in the Red Room, and I just took it down and painted the walls blue because I don't recommend working, sleeping, and everything else in the Red Room.
And don't wear the ring as well. So make sure that that's on your list of things to do.
But I think On the Air might be a nice one to dive into right now, because like I think like silly Lynch is what's feeling best for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was not prepared for his passing at all. Like I'm sorry to both of my grandfathers and my grandmother who are listening from beyond the grave, but that was the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
Like I still get like choked up thinking about it and stuff. And I don't know why, because like, I don't know. I think he could have lived for another 10 years, and I don't know that we would have seen more David Lynch art. I think what it was you feel the weight of an artist like that leaving the mortal plane. Like you really do.
And plus, you're so tied to them. Like for me too, since I was 15 years old, it's like it's very hard to find an artist or a musician or anyone whose work you love consecutively, that is with you through your highs and your lows. And then when that force is ripped out at a time, like personally, the only reason I'm talking to you now is because he passed, which sounds terrible, but I was so depressed, and I was so like, other things were going on in my life. I was just in a bad place, and like everything was falling apart. And then that happened, and it was like, I'm just going to do this as a tribute. But you're not wrong to be like, you feel the weight of it, because it's pulled out of the world, but it's pulled out of you. Like that part of you is now gone, and it's hard for me, it was very hard to make peace with that.
And I mean, you did the right thing. You went and made something. I think that's part of the grief process for me, was like feeling this weight of like, fuck, I don't know how to ever rise to the level of that kind of artist. Like I can try, but everything that he was, and that like I project onto him and project onto his art, it's like, it's so ephemeral. And now it's like up to me and my friends and you, Eric, and everybody else who ever consumed his stuff to try to create some facsimile of that energy in this world. And it's like, I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like Major Briggs's monologue or something, where it's just like, is it the possibility that love is not enough? Yes. It's like literally like, it felt like getting this task or something handed to me. And like, I don't know, and yeah, I think I also, thank you for putting it the way you put it, because like I think I didn't also really realize until this moment. It's like I literally grew up with this man. Like it's like Mullholland Drive changed my life.
Yeah.
Like it changed my life. It Laura Palmer changed my life. Like all these things were there for me at times where I didn't know who I was, and the art helped me figure out who I was and find the pathway that I was supposed to go down. And you know, like I've been very fortunate I still screen The People's Joker all the time, and I get to talk to people after screenings. I always stick around and meet everybody I can and sign whatever and I've signed so many ridiculous things at this point. Estrogen bottles, dildos, like everything, anything, and I'll do it. I love attention. But I get to have these conversations where, whether it's The People's Joker or even like on cinema, like the stuff that I was doing as a gun for hire TV editor and producer and director, it's like these things hold a lot of meaning to people, and it's service. It's like spiritual service, and it's I think that's the other thing about his death. It's like I don't take the duties of an artist lightly anymore. There's a responsibility there, and you're creating meaning for people, and you're creating meaning for yourself, but when you're sharing it with everybody else, like they're gonna get something out of it, and I don't know, it's so beautiful, and I'm grateful that I've gotten to do that, and that I think also just it comes from watching him do that and watching the way he did it.
And now, how many people watching The People's Joker are you going to affect in that way, and carry it on, and hopefully we put more positivity in the world, because you could use it right now. I kept you a long time. I have one last question, which, are you actually doing an Echo the Dolphin movie? Because I feel like I had a fever dream where I saw a clip of you like on YouTube talking about Echo the Dolphin.
As you can tell, I'm on a big dolphin kick. I want to make a dolphin movie, an adaptation of Echo the Dolphin, and I'm using this platform, like most platforms, just to say that. Sega, if you're watching, I really want to make an Echo the Dolphin movie.
And then you posted something about it. Is it a thing? Are you not allowed to talk about it, or is it just, did I make it up?
I really want to make an Echo the Dolphin movie. The creator of Echo the Dolphin has given me his blessing on Twitter. He said, "Show me the money."
That's legally binding. Yep.
Yeah. It's as legally binding as anything I've ever made. And I don't know. I mean, I have like a little bit of interest from somebody, but it's, every filmmaker's Wikipedia page is like a graveyard of video game adaptations. But I have a take. I have an idea that is like really good, and I'm not going to ever make The People's Echo the Dolphin. I want Sega to, I want to get the rights. I want to adapt it. It's and we'll see. I mean, I'm talking about it. I don't know if it'll ever happen, or how real, or how many years away it is. But it's an IP that I really care about. Like it's my favorite video game of all time. I have a very psychic, spiritual connection that I can't actually even like verbally articulate with dolphins. And a lot of that was also tied up in while I was making The People's Joker and stuff from childhood and stuff. And I think the only way I will ever be able to process it is if I do get to make an Echo the Dolphin movie.
I hope it happens. I hope it comes together, or that there are other projects that you're working on that we can see.
I don't know when this is going to drop, but I'm making a movie. I'm making a movie this year. And it'll probably be at festivals end of next year. Yeah, I'm working on a lot of different projects right now, but one thing just got the green light.
That's amazing.
And
congratulations.
Yeah, we'll see.
I won't ask you what it's about, because I feel like it loses some magic if you put it out into the world. But just knowing that you're doing a project, can I ask? Is it another comedy, or are you doing something like a horror, or some mix of both, or can you give us that?
Yes.
Yeah. All things yes.
It is. I think so. This specific thing, that either just got announced or is about to be announced. Feel free to use all this. I like being cryptic.
Okay.
It is more so than anything I've ever worked on. I can't stress enough. Like, it's something that I think people go in cold. Even if you end up seeing a trailer online, don't fucking watch it. Just see it.
That could be like the first quote. Don't fucking watch it. Vera Drew before the trailer starts.
Because I don't know. When I was writing 3 other movies while I was making The People's Joker, because it took like 2.5 years to finish after we shot it. And 2 of those movies are in a space right now where we're trying to get money to make them, and one of them just got some money to be made. So, and both of them really came out of this idea of like, I love genre. I fell in love with genre while I was making The People's Joker, and really realized like I wanna have like a horror. I want to have a horror era. I really want to make like every genre. I want to make a Western someday, you know? But yeah, I think I'm about to be in horror land for the next couple films, and you know, I can't not be funny. It is one of my biggest character defects. So I'm sure there will be some laughs along the way.
Yeah, well, that's perfect, and a perfect way to end it too, because that, for me, that is David Lynch, and you're in a great tradition.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving me all this time and talking about Lynch and your work and everything, and I hope it was fun. I hope it was fun.
It absolutely fun. I could talk about David Lynch all day, and I could also talk about myself all day. So it
was perfect. It was the perfect cocktail.
Yeah, no complaints here. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to listen back.
Thank you for listening to the Meanwhile podcast with Dan Johnson and Eric Grissom. If you would like to support the Meanwhile podcast, join our Patreon. It's available right now. You can sign up, and for just a few dollars a month, you can keep this show going, and you can get access to some exclusive podcasts and some secret stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you'd like to join, go to ericgrissom.com/meanwhile and look for the Patreon link. If you like our show, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're hearing this now. Meanwhile is produced by Eric Grissom and Where's My Robots? The Meanwhile theme song is written and performed by Paul Finn in Evening Pines. If you want to let us know what you thought of the show, you can reach Dan at danjnj.com, both on the web and on Blue Sky. Eric can be found on Blue Sky at ericgrissom.com, which is also his website. It's also me, right? We'll see you again. And in the meantime, be good.